it doesn't seem like there was any other reason for him to delay building on the property or anything else. I feel like one of the most likely reasons could be that he was just doing it as a punishment to Janelle. Elizabeth B says again, some of your family members said your dad is now looking to move out of Flagstaff. Thoughts? Makes sense. He doesn't really like to stay anywhere for too long. That's what happened with Wyoming when I was born there when we left like 5 years later. That's what happened with Utah.
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Monday, April 3rd, 2023. We missed April Fool's Day on Saturday, but if you follow me on Instagram or on Facebook, you saw that we got like a ton of snow on Friday night. And so when I woke up on Saturday morning, I was all like, April Fools, because that's what Mother Nature was doing to me. Yeah, that's literally what happened. So welcome back to my channel. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. We're back, and Gwendolyn Brown dropped a video where she talked a little bit about one of the last episodes of the season, and it was where Cody and Robin and Janelle and Mary all sat down to talk about the holidays and talk about their plans and talk about life since Christine had left. Yeah. And it was the one where Cody yelled and screamed at Janelle, and where Janelle almost walked off, and where Robin tried to keep them talking as long as Cody would stop yelling. Yeah, okay. Counselor Robin, as Miss Janelle would call her.
So tired of Counselor Robin. Like, oh yeah, your pain. Acts like he's the only person who's been rejected, who's been hurt. It just feels like she's placating him.
And then we're going to dive in real quick and just do a quick update on the Samuel Bateman FLDS case that's going on in Arizona right now. Samuel Bateman is a leader of an offshoot of the FLDS, and he believes he is the next prophet of God or of the polygamist group. And his followers are involved in some Warren Jeffs-like behavior, and another one was arrested last week, this time for messages they sent to two separate DCS workers. And this is one of Sam's acquired wives from one of his followers, and some of her daughters that are in DCF custody that are also Sam's wives. And she wants them back, and she sent some things to these workers that let them know what would happen if they weren't returned. Yeah, so now she's back. She is joining her buddy, well, not necessarily joining him, but she's now in a facility as well, and she also has her own case that she needs to worry about. So when people look at the women in the FLDS and they see them with their prairie dresses and their hair done up, and they think they're so innocent and sweet, not based off what this lady was sending to the DCS workers. So let's talk a little bit about this topic of Gwendolyn Brown calls out her dad, Cody, and her stepmom, Robin, for spending the family money, punishing Janelle, and favoring the sons. And then we'll finish up with the quick round about Bateman. So before we dive into today's topic, please give me this video a thumbs up. Also, please subscribe to my channel if you've not yet subscribed by clicking on the subscribe button down below. Make sure to ring the bell if you want to get notified of any time I go live or new content loads, and make sure to leave a comment if you have something to say, and share this video with your friends. Also, for those of you that have been following my coverage with the 7M Dancers Shekinah Church group that's in California, the guy Robert Shin, who is the alleged cult leader that filed a lawsuit against me last year. Well, I have a huge update about that coming soon. So not only about my lawsuit, but about a new lawsuit that's been filed against him by dancers that have left and former members. So if you are always looking for coverage on the various cults that I cover, make sure you follow me over on Instagram and Facebook, because not all of that content makes it onto my YouTube channel. Okay, so Gwendolyn Brown was watching one of the final episodes of season 17, and this one was where they all get together to talk about Janelle wants to build a casita, and she wants to show them the plans, which gets them into this whole argument about, you know, them wanting to talk about life since Christine left, the one where Robin starts crying and is basically like, he's left me and I have to deal with the fallout, because most men, when they're going through a divorce, you know, they go out with their friends and they have they go drinking, and they don't have another wife at home that they have to take care of. And so Robyn was crying basically for herself. Anyways, at the very end of this video, there was one part in her little flip, the script part, where Gwendolyn actually said something that I was like, she sees what we see. She made a comment about how Robyn was talking to the other wives about Kody's behavior as though they don't know how Kody acts, like trying to explain to them his actions, why he does what he does to someone that's known him longer. She sort of pointed out to people that she found that weird. And that's something that I've always thought was weird. And that is something that Robyn has done since the beginning. So at the very end of the episode, she talked a little bit about why didn't Kody find the money to pay off Coyote Pass so that Janelle could build. And if you remember, Janelle actually had it so that she could have built on a parcel that had been paid off, and she was going to build in a spot on the land where it would have still been on subdivided property, so that it wouldn't have changed the spot, and it would have followed easements for both the current part of the land that was laid out, and then the new way that he wanted to divide the property. At that point in time, Kody still wanted to divide the land into 5 parcels, and at this point, it's 2023. Their property lot loans are due the end of June, so in 2 months, and no permits have been pulled for any property there. None of the lots are actually on the market, and their house isn't on the market, so it's not like they're moving anytime soon, but nothing's happened. And Gwendolyn made the comment that she's pretty sure that nothing's going to happen, and that once Savannah graduates from high school, she imagines that Janelle will probably move, whether it's to Utah or to Nevada or to North Carolina. She's not sure, but she doesn't think that she's going to stay. So the question came up about Robyn and the money, and it also came up about was Janelle being punished, which you saw at the very beginning. Someone asked the question, like, why didn't he pay off the property? And Gwendolyn basically said, well, it makes sense because Janelle wasn't really complying, and so he was basically punishing her for not doing what he wanted to do.
Do you think Kody delayed on prioritizing the paying off of Coyote Pass land to punish Janelle, or who was very eager to build, but displeased by him not enforcing the COVID rules with her kids? Maybe, honestly, that's a good point, because it doesn't seem like there was any other reason for him to delay building on the property or anything else. I feel like one of the most likely reasons could be that he was just doing it as a punishment to Janelle. Elizabeth?
So I do think a part of it was that Janelle was being punished for not complying, but I also think another part of it is that Kody didn't have the money. I think that Kody needed her credit in order to do things, and that's why he wanted her to purchase Christine's property, because he didn't have the money to pay off her lot or to build. And so to him, he probably didn't want to pay it off, on top of he's punishing her for not complying. He's probably not intending to build anything out there anyway, and he probably doesn't want to deal with all the permits and the expenses that go along with building, because building is extremely expensive in Flagstaff, and the prices of property right now in Flagstaff have inflated really high. Like, the price of the home that Kody and Robyn bought has almost doubled in 3 years, which is insane. You don't normally see properties double in price in 3 years. So property and materials are really expensive, and so he probably didn't want to pay, didn't have the money, and he was also punishing her. I agree with that. There was another question about the money and whether or not he has made right with Mary and Janelle for buying their house, for giving them the down payment to buy Robyn's house.
But yeah, I agree. I think that my dad and Robyn have a terrible habit of spending very crazy and like not within their means at all. But also Janelle and Mary are like kind of similar to my mom in that they're not going to be like salty or petty and try to like take money from him, even though they totally deserve it because he's been spending all of their money on whatever.
So her response is that Kody and Robyn she does not believe, pay back Janelle and Mary for the money in which they were given by them to pay for Robyn's property, which was over $200,000 that she received from the down payment. She received equity not only from Janelle, but also from Mary. Janelle had said that had she had the money, she would have been able to build and she would have been able to pay off the property. And she said that they had money in the bank in order to pay off the property. but Kody said that they didn't. So who knows? And then she had also made the comment about how she had noticed that when she was doing the financials that there was a lot of money missing or being spent in areas where it shouldn't have probably been spent. So her response, Gwendolyn's, is that Kody and Robin do spend way outside of their means and that they've been spending the family money. And they've been spending the money that the wives have been bringing in. They've been spending it as their own. And she said that they're not petty like that to go after them to get their money back. And I just want to like put this out there that it's not petty at all if you have a contract with someone to do something to want to be made right. There is nothing petty about taking legal action if you need to or getting a lawyer involved in order to get the money that's due to you, especially if it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think a petty dispute would be over like $50 with the amount of money we're talking about here. This is a dispute that encompasses hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I don't call that petty. That's, I mean, if we were going to be real, if he were charged, say that of like fraud, this would be a felony. So that's not petty to me, but I don't know that they will go after him. They might just cut their losses because dealing with him in the court system might sound more unbearable than it's worth. I'm not sure what they're planning to do. She also mentioned in the same video that Kody treats the boys differently than the girls, and that most of the girls had already felt discarded and unseen and invisible by Kody for most of their lives. But now that the boys are all older and they're being treated the way that the girls were growing up, that it's interesting for her to see how the boys are being treated and how they're finally seeing what it's like to not be favored, and they're finally catching up with her, which she said is wonderful and terrible at the same respect, because they're seeing what she went through, but it's terrible that her dad is still doing this. Cody and Robin are basically spending the money of theirs, which gets me to another point. I was going to say, one of my followers contacted me this morning, and said that they were in Las Vegas a few weeks ago, and they actually ran into Cody and Robin, and they were actually at the David Yurman jewelry store, and they saw Cody and Robin walk out of David Yurman, and they had bags in tow. And a lot of people have noticed that that Cody has been wearing a necklace that is like a shield that David Yurman makes. A lot of people are calling it his Heart of the Sea necklace. This is a necklace that starts around $1,100. She said that they had multiple bags. I don't know if it was just Cody's necklace or not, but David Yurman is a jeweler, and his jewelry is not necessarily cheap. So yeah, apparently they saw them directly shopping at David Yurman in Las Vegas. Miss Robin does have a lot of art. If you look at the way the house looked before they bought it, it was completely decorated when they bought it. And she has just filled every nook and cranny. She has purchased so much artwork for the walls, to the extent that there's so much artwork on the walls that it's kind of distracting, if you ask me. So yeah, they are definitely spending the money of others. But it's just another person in the family confirming that Cody and Robin have been spending the money of other wives and using it as their own and profiting off everyone else at the expense of anyone else. If you think about it this way, Janelle is in a tiny, at this point, 2-bedroom like apartment, and Cody is living in a 4,500 square foot home with Robin on the hills in Flagstaff that has a property value of $1.6 million. There's been a story circulating that is wrong that says that Cody and Robin have taken out an emergency home equity loan. That's false. That was taken out in 2021, and that's not new. So there's been no new documents filed in Coconino County for any of the properties that they own, no deeds transferred, and no money that's been requested by either one of them, and nothing as of today that's on the market. So that's what I have on the Cody thing. Now, there's another story that we've been following over on my Facebook and on my Instagram, mostly because I have a lot of FLDS members, ex-FLDS members that follow me. And I got notified today that there was an arrest last week of one of Samuel Bateman's wives. So Samuel Bateman is the prophet that was arrested back in September for having like 20 some wives, a lot of them being minors. And they were found like in a trailer, and he was driving with them in Arizona. And then he was later indicted in December of orchestrating an abduction of those same girls from the DCFS custody. So he and three of his wives, adult wives, actually the 3 adult wives facilitated the abduction of 8 of the 9 girls that were in DCFS, so the minor girls that were taken from him that are considered his wives, the youngest being 12, from custody, and taking them to Washington State. So he and 3 wives were charged with kidnapping, conspiracy to commit kidnapping, witness tampering, they're all, and at this point, Samuel and his wives are facing life in prison for those charges. But the witness tampering and the witness intimidation and the intimidation of people involved in this case has not stopped, because last week, one of his wives, Josephine Barlow Bisline, who goes by Jomi Barlow or Jomi Bisline, who was previously married to Liddell Bisline, but was given from Liddell to Sam as a new wife. And some of her daughters were also, minor daughters were given to Sam by Liddell. And so Jomi was arrested last week for sending threats to 2 DCFS workers because she was threatening bodily harm and bodily injury, severe bodily injury, even death, to 2 workers because she said that they were illegally holding her children. The threats were sent via email, and they were long and rambling. I was able to get a copy of the complaint. She is being held in Arizona at a federal correctional detention center awaiting trial on those charges. But she was basically charged with cyber stalking and with sending threats to government workers because she wanted her children out of DCFS, claiming that they were trafficking her children and that Samuel Bateman was the actual God on earth that was doing what was good for God, and that if they didn't give the children back, she would hurt them and they would die. And the threats ramped up over a series of months. She sent threats from December and through March 24th on the day of her arrest. So she was arrested by the FBI on the 24th. She is currently in the detention center, and each one of the charges that she's charged with, she's got 2 counts, is I think up to 5 years in prison. So even with Sam behind bars, even with some of his wives now behind bars, another one of his wives is now behind bars, this time for threatening DCF workers to return the children. So these are the same kids that were kidnapped, and then she's threatening DCF workers, if you don't return them, I'm going to hurt you. The FLDS is the case with Samuel Bateman is ongoing, and the prosecutors in the case filed a motion last month, and so that there's a superseding indictment that is expected to be filed in the next 90 days. So by now it'll be this month or next month that we'll know what the actual charges will be for Bateman, including the trafficking claims, because they also say that other defendants will be added to this superseding indictment. So some of his male followers we're hoping will be added to this indictment. I've been speaking to a lot of people in the FLDS that are ex-members. They're actually family members of a lot of these people involved, and they want all the men held accountable. They want all the wives held accountable. They want all of them in prison. So we are waiting on bated breath to find out if the rest of them will get arrested. But the FBI, in their complaints and in their documents that they're filing, says that they're investigating a child sex trafficking ring that has been ongoing since at least 2020 between Bateman and his followers. So Bateman is still doing what Warren Jeffs was doing, and now they're using email, and these women are becoming more emboldened and sending threats to DCF. So the first group of wives actually kidnaps them. The second one threatens to hurt the DCF workers if they don't return the kids. Thankfully, the kids remain in DCF custody, and they are their location is not known and has not been disclosed to any of the family members or the wives involved to keep them safe. So if you have any tips or on anything regarding Samuel Bateman, make sure to send them to my email or to my to Facebook or Instagram. And I've covered this case extensively on my Instagram and on my Facebook. So if you need a rundown, make sure that you jump over there. And so Gwendolyn Brown is sharing with you that they're spending the women's money, and she's calling them out for that. And Samuel Bateman and his wives are wreaking havoc and continuing to wreak havoc as more of the followers of his end up in prison for trafficking children. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.